Worrisome. Fair to say you simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills. That actually increases the money supply.
Financial Turmoil Explained.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day and welcome to the show. This is September the 29th, 2022, a Thursday. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, we're going to get right into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is Russia's new missile that they got called the Skyfall Missile. And this is what they're working on right now. It says this missile has nuclear warheads. It's claimed to be able to circle the Earth for months in patrol mode. So they launch it. And it flies around up there, hovering over the Earth for months. It says Russia might be preparing to test its latest nuclear-powered missile, dubbed the Skyfall Missile by the Americans. Here's what we know about the project. It's a cruise missile powered by an integrated nuclear engine. It was unveiled in 2018. It has an atomic reactor that allows it to remain in the sky for months, even for years, until the time comes to change the nuclear components. Well, so they got to change the nuclear components if it's up there for many years, flying around over our heads constantly, It says its unpredictable flight routes make this missile extremely effective weapon because no foreign military will be able to predict the time it switches from patrolling mode to attacking mode. The missile is capable of flying around the North Atlantic Ocean, around the Arctic, or across Russia and back as long as needed until it gets the target's coordinates from the military command. And it flies at a hypersonic speed of around 2,500 kilometers per hour. So, there's that. There's another missile that the Russians have devised called a Poseidon. And it creates a giant tidal wave. And for coastal cities, they've devised this missile for coastal cities. Now, U.S. home heating, to switch the subject, U.S. home heating costs are set to surge 17% across the board. I'm going to ask you a simple question, guys. Has your pay went up 17% from work? If you're on a fixed income, has your income went up 17%? And this is just the start. Look at what they're going through over in Europe. 700%. So 17% is just getting started. You watch, this number will go up from 17% to 35%. First thing you know, it'll be 100% higher. It says the average U.S. household heating bill is expected to increase 17.2% this winter compared to last year. So we're actually getting off kind of easy compared to over in Europe, where they're going to pay 700% more for heating. Basically, they can't afford it. And they've also made laws where they can't turn the thermostat up warm enough and they'll go to jail over there in Europe if they turn their thermostat up on their house. An awful lot of people are going to be converting back to wood heat. Seriously, with the way the heating costs are going to go up. Not so much yet, especially over here in the Americas, people converting over to wood heat. But I'm going to tell you, if a fellow wanted to get into business, making and selling wood stoves, he'd probably do all right. And installing them too, Seriously. Because I can see this is the way it's heading back. We're going backwards. An awful lot of places in the world, we're using more coal than we've ever used before. Now, what we should be doing is progressing forwards with creating energy, that's more in tune with the earth. I agree with that, but we don't have anything out there yet. Our most hopeful thing that we have that's coming along is geothermal, which is great. I love geothermal heat. But you tapping it from the Earth's core. Along with, I'm going to tell you, I really, really like hydropower too. I consider that an excellent. And people have home farms and stuff. Maybe you got a little stream running through your farm. Well, if you got enough of if you're in a place where, say you got a piece of property and you're up like in the hills or something, and you got a little stream or what they call a creek running through your property, water falling, depending on the head pressure, how far it falls, equals a tremendous amount of energy. Water, when it's going down like, say, 100-foot drop, water, you can get tremendous energy out of that with a turbine. And even if it's just a small creek, if you do it the right way and create a head pressure coming down, say, a slope or something, the water, you can create tremendous energy. Run your whole house. And there's another type of talk about wind power for a second here, because I'm going to get onto the markets, guys, so just hang in there. Wind power for a second. Most people put in a traditional bladed windmill to try to produce power, and they see the big windmills, that they have, the big bladed windmills, they look like a fan. But most people don't consider a turbine type windmill. And why they're effective is a lot of places like the bladed type windmills work great when you're in a place where you got a lot of wind, right? But turbines will run with an awful lot less wind. If you're in a place that doesn't have much wind, a turbine type can only work on 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. Will run it, or it takes a higher wind pressure to run the fan type. And I did a bit of research into the turbine type. I was very interested in them for a while there. I tried to build one. I did, but it was a failure. But I wanted to experiment with them, and I got very interested. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, guys. Let's get back in there and let's take a look at Nord Stream 2. The Nord Stream pipeline has been like 3 holes suddenly appeared in it. Now there's a 4th one. Nord Stream underwater gas pipelines and leaking are in 4 places now. And this is probably not by coincidence. Somebody attacked them. Well, the thing is they're under the bottom of the ocean, so it's not a simple thing to do. And there's only a few countries out there that would have the technical ability to do something like that. It's a short list, in other words, of countries out there that would have the technical ability to do something like that. The 2 primary countries, the United States and Russia. Nobody knows. This is a big mystery. Nobody knows who did it at this point in time. Everybody's pointing their finger and saying Russia, but nobody really knows who did it for sure. It was evidently it was a very covert operation. But this is big. This is significant in this war that's going on. Basically, the war that's going on in Ukraine right now is a threatening situation to the entire world. Now, just in my mind, not in everybody's mind, but in my mind, the way I think, I picture all the world's leaders. I don't say, oh, these guys over here are good and these guys over here are bad. Just like in politics, I say that both sides are corrupt. Well, I picture all the world's leaders as being corrupt. And they're all, basically, I picture them all now as being rogue, basically, because they're leading us down a path that at the end pushes us all over a cliff like a bunch of lemmings into the ocean. We all, lemmings, they all run to the cliff and they all fall off the cliff into the ocean and they all drowned. They build up their population. And then they all run to the cliff and they all fall off the cliff and they all drown. The lemmings. Well, our world leaders are pushing us all toward the cliff edge. We're about 1 minute from midnight. And it seems like they're all a bunch of fanatics, our world leaders. And they're doing things that us, the people, we don't want any of this stuff. It's being shoved down our throat. And this is why in my mind only, I consider them all to be rogue. Because they're not doing what the people want. You know what the people want? I can tell you what the people want. They want a peaceful world where they can raise their children. And they want security, food security. They want a world that they feel safe in. They want a world that is able to handle any disasters. Because the governments are, if there is governments at all, would be effective at handling disasters. You know? They don't want to sit in the dark. Like the people in Florida tonight, my heart goes out to these people in Florida right now. I just been through it. Hurricane Fiona slammed us here. It was basically a Category 4 that spread its wind field out. It became a Category 2, but it basically had the energy load of a Category 4, Fiona. And now they got hit with this Ian, and they down in Florida, and basically they're experiencing the same thing. And it's all promises from the government. They'll sit on their butts, and honestly, down there in Florida, they'll be without power for probably weeks. Gosh knows, you know, I mean, the trouble that they're going to go through down there, and I just experienced it here. Well, so my heart goes out to them, you know. I mean, I got internet back here, and I only suffered minor damages. A few trees down on my property, and a window busted out. But I mean, down in Florida, they're going to have houses full of water, and roofs torn off, and all this kind of crap, you know. And we have governments that are just barely functioning now. And this is because isn't the root of the word politician idiot? Anyway, I'm getting off on a tear here, but I'm just sick of all this crap. Can't they run a world effectively so that we can have peace and security and raise our kids and have our home as our castle? Can't we have a world like that, or do we have to have all this garbage that they're pulling on us shoved down our throats? Sick of it. Sick of it. And they're doing it to us. Don't make any mistake out there. It's the politicians worldwide that are doing it to us. Anyway, getting on here and taking a look. The Bank of England. The Bank of England is in panic mode, I guess. Full crisis management mode. I'm going to tell you guys what. The Bank of England has switched over. They've pivoted. And it's soon to come to the other central banks. When the going gets rough, what do the bankers do? They go back to making money, making more currency units again, which hurts all of us because it's robbing your money out of your bank account while you're watching. So you're being robbed. They got their hand in your pocket. More than one way, they got their hand in your pocket while you're awake, watching them do it. First off, I think you work from January, half of the year you work just to pay your taxes. Almost half of the year. And then they're robbing you from inflation on the other end. So they're burning a candle on both ends on you, and what you have is shrinking. You ever noticed how you look back a few years ago, you know, and you used to be able to go out and afford a big steak anytime you wanted. Now you can't afford hamburger. And soon you won't even be able to afford crickets. And that's what they intend to feed you. Crickets and mealworms and algae. They got big plans. Oh yeah, they got these maniacs that are in charge. They got big plans. for you. You know, they're going to make you scared to death with all their saber rattling. And when you're so frightened that your knees are knocking, you know, then they're going to come knocking on your door with their new 80,000, what is it, 80,000 of these armed tax collectors, you know, and they're just going to make your life a misery, and to where it's not even hardly worth living it in the end. These maniacs that are in charge right now, the unsafe world and the conditions that they're creating is going to create such fear in the world, such fear amongst all of man, that your life is ain't going to be worth 2 cents in the end, as long as these maniacs are allowed to continue. And I'm not going to single any one of them out. I think they're all corrupt now. They've all been corrupted. Everyone, all of them around the world, the ones that are in charge. The people aren't. The people are same as they've always been. It's just that mismanagement and corruption is spread through the system to the point now where it's being really noticed, and it's going to be felt by you. No matter who you are or where you are, even if you're rich, you're going to feel it, the sting of it now. And it's all coming from the people who are in charge at the top. Top down, that's the way it's working. And the people that are getting less and less voice out there, they don't have any voice anymore practically, because they figured out a tactic. What they do is when people protest, what's called peaceful protest, first off, they make a rule, hey, you know what? Peaceful protest only. That's the rule. And when people protest, they basically ignore them. They wait until they go home. So the people follow the rules of the protests. They get out there. What good does it do? Because basically they're just waiting you out. If you protest, they're going to wait you out until you get sick and tired, you get hungry and tired, and you go home. And then protest over, and they're not even going to cover it. And probably they're controlling the media as much as they can. So where does all this lead in the end? It leads to misery for the entire... You know, these guys are in charge. They're not happy either. Nobody's happy. We the people, we're not happy. And the people in charge aren't happy. Nobody's happy in this entire situation. Everybody's full of anxiety. And this all needs to be straightened out. It all needs fixing. And because this is all mostly coming from the top down, it needs to be fixed at the top first. And so it'll trickle down. We need some... I'm not going to say that these world leaders are incompetent. No, quite the opposite. They're too cunning, is what they are. Anyway, I'm on a tear today. You can see I'm just fed up with it all. I'm fed up with them. Because of what they're doing to the earth. What they're doing, mismanagement. Silver price today. What we're looking at is $18.74 today. And it's down 15 cents in the day so far. Let's take a look at gold. Gold is $16.55, and it's down $4.60 in the day so far. Cryptocurrency today. Cryptocurrency is Bitcoin's 19,276, and Ethereum's 1324 today so far. Let's take a look now at the Dow Jones, and I'm going to refresh the page so we can see the drop. Down 217 points at 29,533 for the Dow. Let me put it on a 5-year here. Okay. So we can see this decline in the Dow. This is not going to stop until the Fed does what the Bank of England does. But here's the thing, guys. Now that they've seen the Bank of England make their move, the traders out there and the people who are equity buyers and things, they're watching all that, and they're saying to themselves, hey, you know what? The United States is going to do what the Bank of England did when the going gets rough. And they're saying to themselves, so this is what one of the things that's holding back a big sell-off. But the problem is the Fed is not going to do what the Bank of England did until they get a big sell-off. So we're still in that kind of weird situation. It's what caused the situation that's occurred for the last couple of years, where bad news is good news for the markets and things. It's just a weird period we're going through right now. If it was a child, you'd say he's going through a phase. Anyway, let's take a look at oil prices today. 82.59. It's up 44 cents on the day so far. And we're going to take a look at the MOVE index today at 158.99. I'm going to refresh the page. Yeah, 158.99. Over the 1 year, you can see it's been continuously going up, slowly, but up. That's because we're heading toward a crescendo in the economy. And the MOVE index right now this is what I would consider too high. It represents instability in the credit markets right now. But this is good compared to what it could be, I suppose. Bonds and rates today, and we're seeing rising yields. 7.3 basis points looks like in the 10-year. A 10-year at 3.78 and the U.S. 30-year at 3.73. We've seen a big drop in these. The 10-year, big drop. Now it's starting to charge back upwards again. I said problems if we went over 3.25%, and we see problems in the economy, but it's going to get a lot worse when we go over 4% on the 10-year. We're going to continue to see these problems as long as in the general upper end of the economy, until the Federal Reserve decides to do what the Bank of England does, and then we're going to see the inflation after that. And they will. They're going to relent. The Fed is going to relent. Just give them time. Things are going to have to get a lot worse before they relent, I think. They're going to have to be faced with a crisis situation. Like I guess what the Bank of England was faced with, a whole bunch of margin calls and stuff, and the system starting to melt down. That was the first point of weakness. And, it's coming, guys. Now the dollar index today is 112.81. So we've seen a little drop back in the dollar index. But this dollar index is going to remain strong as long as the Fed remains on their course of tightening. Then I think that there's going to be a boomerang effect in the dollar. It's going to drop once the Fed does what the Bank of England does, which is what I'm expecting. But at what point? I think the Fed's going to hold out as long as they possibly can with this. They're going to hold their course. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.